With the Fantastic Four First Steps official box office metrics now sitting at $368 million worldwide, those are the global metrics right now for the Walt Disney Company, for Marvel Studios, and a lot of Hollywood trades out there are pointing out the drop-off and are really actually reporting how it really is something that Marvel and Disney should worry about when it comes to the 66% drop, I believe it was, for the Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, one thing about that is that we know that Pedro Pascal is getting very defensive. He's getting very much, of course, vocal toward the critics, toward Marvel fans, blaming everything on Trump, blaming everything on MAGA and Trump supporters again, and how it's only spiraling out of control at this point. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you are new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, I've been very much, forward about this. This movie, it's an okay film. It's a popcorn flick. It's nothing truly special. It's not a masterpiece by any means. It's not a terrible film. It's just an okay film as far as I see things. And are there a lot of things wrong with this movie here and there? Are there flaws? Absolutely. But one thing about this film that I will say is that it really could have done a lot better if, of course, this movie had a better marketing campaign, if they actually did some more comic accurate aspects with this movie. It would have actually dragged in a lot more people. That's an actual fact. But one thing about Pedro here is that he's going off the rails yet again, in the midst of the Hollywood trades out there, really reporting that drop-off at the box office when it comes to the global metrics, especially when it comes to the domestic metrics. We'll talk more about that down the road. Interestingly enough, with Pedro Pascal endlessly going on political rants in the midst of the Fantastic Four box office numbers coming in, and recently Hollywood trades claiming that 66% drop is a devastating blow for Marvel and Disney, one major development now involves Pedro once again turning this into a political issue and also going off at the Hollywood trades. Pedro delivered the following. One thing that I will say right now about the Marvel fandom is that it has become so politically motivated that there is no question about that. I think that what we are seeing right now are right-wingers that boycott films out of spite, and that's why we are seeing the numbers that we are seeing. It all boils down to MAGA and Trump supporters, really, that's trying to create issues for the MCU and wants it to fail. I don't believe that there is any kind of superhero fatigue, and if you believe that, you are just stupid. I don't believe that there is any kind of Marvel fatigue either. We just now, of course, know that there is something going on with a political bias and an intense political outrage coming from MAGA and Trump supporters that want to take their anger out on Marvel and Disney. And I think that some Hollywood trades out there are to blame for how our film is being seen. I think that the numbers and the reports going around right now are just blown out of proportion. It's really just over-exaggerated nonsense. Our film is doing just fine. We just expected a way higher turnout, and we just didn't hit that margin yet. And MAGA and Trump supporters are to blame for that. But we don't need their business anyway, because they mainly consist of misogynists and sexists that really aren't rooting for the industry in any way, shape, or form, or the art of film to begin with for it to thrive in 2025. They just aren't. That's the overall situation. A large percentage of the critics talking about our film negatively that we see online, it's coming from a political landscape. There's no question about it. It really is. And I spoke about this with Kevin Feige, and we all saw this coming from a mile away, that that's the culture right now in 2025, and to be quite frank, it has been for the majority of the 2020s so far. Trumpism destroyed the industry along with his supporters. They destroyed what many Disney brands used to be years and years ago. Brands like Marvel, Star Wars, and the live-action department. Just look at what they did to Snow White. That's the exact type of behavior that we are seeing right now with some folks toward Fantastic Four. Now guys, let me say one thing about that. The fact that he's not only blaming Trumpism, quote-unquote, Trump supporters and MAGA as to why they're not seeing the expected turnout that they once expected for the Fantastic Four box office metrics, but that he's also now casting blame on Trump supporters for why Snow White failed at the box office. And look, we all know that Pedro is a mega Rachel Zegler fan. He was rooting her from, start to finish for that movie to actually succeed. Let's just, face the facts here. The reason why that movie failed miserably is that, number one, Disney engaged in the typical messaging, the typical agenda, and honestly, Rachel Zegler's politics really got in the way. I mean, that was another main contributor there as to why that movie failed. All aside, it was just a bad movie, alright? Across the board. The writing, the directing, the acting, the line delivery, the producing, everything about it. Even the cinematography was subpar for Snow White. So for Rachel Zegler to actually, be rooted by Pedro Pascal and vice versa, it just goes to show you exactly these actors and actresses are just actor-vists. That's what I like to call them. Now, he goes on to actually elaborate further, and we don't want their business anyway because they are coming from a political area. But I have to call it out and to raise awareness of the insanity going on right now in this country. It's a scary time to live in right now, especially under Trump, who is obviously setting himself up to be this dictator in disguise. This is a man that radicalized so many American citizens to believe in his nonsense, and boycotting films is a part of that type of behavior. And it's something that I do not, of course, want to see my films associated with those types of people anyway. When you look at the toxicity toward Hollywood right now, and how actors and talent just aren't getting the proper respect anymore for the work that they put into these films, it really is creating an impact on us as performers. So let me just say one thing about Pedro Pascal. He's acting like a hypocrite, right? On one end, he's very much upset about the fact that MAGA supporters or Trump supporters are not coming to his movies, and then he's saying that he doesn't want their business anyway. It just makes no sense. He's flip-flopping like crazy day in and day out. But again, the fact that they have not fired Pedro Pascal from Marvel, from the MCU, right on the spot like they did with Rachel Zegler from the Disney live action, department, the fact that there is an obvious divide there, it really just goes to show you that it's really odd behavior. They got rid of Rachel Zegler, but they're not getting rid of Pedro Pascal. And I think that there's a lot of internal things going on right now. We know that there's a lot of favorability for Pedro. We know that Disney executives love Pedro Pascal because he's open to accept anything. He's open to actually grab onto any role that he's actually pretty much presented to by Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, any, of course, future Disney live action project or animated project. He will take it. And so that's why you're seeing him in a lot of projects, not just with Disney, but a lot of other Hollywood studios out there. And basically, he just accepts it, no matter what the actual margin is when it comes to the payout. Overall, I think that what Pedro's doing here is that he's overly politicizing Fantastic Four. He's blaming it all on Trump supporters, MAGA, Trumpism. It's also tiresome. It is also exhausting. And that's exactly why it really makes me scratch my head. Why aren't they trying to make Pedro Pascal go away, or why aren't they trying to silence the man at this point? I think it may very well have something to do with trying to get back at the administration, trying to get back at Trump for abolishing DEI, perhaps. Something's going on there, because they didn't act this way months and months ago when Snow White released. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.